what's up? Welcome back to another Planty video. My name is Shannon and this is Planted 386. If this is your first time, thank you so much for stopping by and supporting my small channel. I appreciate you for giving me a chance and I hope you'll consider subscribing. And if you're returning, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate and adore this little community so much. There are no words to describe how much I enjoy chatting with you guys down below in the comments. And I've decided to show appreciation each week, each new video, and shout out the people that I see in the comments most frequently. So this week I would like to shout out Miss Eleanor. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. And these are my favorite videos to do, you guys. February favorites. Can you believe it? February is over. It is shocking how fast this year is going, I feel like. So yeah, I think I have 15 or 16 plants to share with you guys today. We are in the room because the family is here and it's just quiet. It's easy for me to kind of just come in here, escape, and get this video done. So yeah, I hope you guys like it. I've been trying to update here and there as I can. And yeah, enough about that. Let's get into the plants. Okay, so number one on my list this month is this gorgeous girl here. This is Hoya New Guinea Ghost. And as you can see, she's sun stressing. She is starting to put out some new growth. I did propagate this plant because I felt like, I don't know, I just wanted to get it a little bit bushier. So I did propagate it. And I am pretty enamored by how it is coming back. I will say, you know, I don't know where her tag went, but I haven't had this Hoya for very long in the grand scheme of things. But I must say it has been so easy to grow. It's just been pretty much effortless, if I'm being honest. It puts out growth like crazy. I have it in just my regular soil mixture. It's one that I wanted for a really long time, and I finally got my hands on it. I'm so grateful to have it. It is absolutely stunning. If you're a Hoya person or you are maybe thinking about purchasing a Hoya, I would say this is definitely one to look at. It has been a breeze. It has just been a joy, a breeze, all of the good things. I water her weekly. She seems to love the fertilizer that I've been using, and she's been very receptive to it, along with most of my Hoyas. But yeah, for me, it's the silvery tone of this plant. I even love the undersides of the leaves. I hope you guys can see that, but it's just got the most beautiful flecking underneath as well as these little speckles on top. And the way that the sun stresses that perfect shade of like rosy pinky purple, it's honestly just, there is nothing bad about this Hoya. Like I cannot tell you guys how much I love this plant, how happy I am to have it, and I really feel like everybody needs this Hoya. I want to say that I stuck the propagations that I took back in the pot. It appears as though I did. It doesn't seem like I only took a few cuts. It's not that they haven't made it, it's just that they haven't really put out any growth yet. But where I did cut, it's popping out growth like crazy. So this definitely seems receptive to being propagated. I actually have a little piece here that you can see the leaf is still there, but it's got this little dead stick. I need to kind of cut that back. But yeah, I can see growth points activating all over this, and I cannot wait to see where this goes and what it looks like 6 months from now. At the rate at which it grows, it is pretty shocking. I know I've just been going on about this for probably way too long now, like 3 minutes, but I could go on and on about it. It's really that good, you guys. So I'm very happy to share it with you this month. If you don't have it, I think it's definitely one you should consider picking up. Okay, next is an exciting one. So this is my Anthurium warocqueanum. And if you've been around, you know that she pretty much grew up on camera. This actually at one point was a pretty large warrock, and it basically outgrew the cabinet, it outgrew the pot. It was just starting to become a bit cumbersome in the space that I had it in, and it was also producing yellowing on the leaves, and it wasn't something that I felt like I was doing. I kind of felt like it was perhaps fungal. So I decided to try my hand at propagating Anthurium, which also, if you've been around, you know I have never propagated an Anthurium. For some reason, I'm just nervous about propagating Anthurium. I don't know why. I think it's because the internodal spacing is so tight, but the more I become familiar with them, the braver I get. I've also been more interested in breeding my Anthuriums rather than propagating them, so that's kind of another reason why I hadn't propagated prior. But yeah, I just felt like this one would benefit from it. I kind of felt like it was sort of going on a decline and that it just really wasn't that happy. So I chopped it, and I have 4 baby warocks now, which brings me so much joy. I've brought 2 out for you guys to see today. The other one is the butt cut, and it's in a big pot, so it's kind of heavy. I didn't want to carry it. And then I have another one too that's a little bit, I think it's a little bit smaller than this one here. But all of them seem to be doing really, really well. And to be honest, I am so surprised at how quickly these propped. Like, I'm just kind of shocked. They have actually, so I started them in moss. The good thing is I had some pretty good aerial roots to work with because I had kept sphagnum moss on all of the aerial roots prior to cutting. So each one had some nice roots to start with, but I didn't have any leaves. So I basically cloached all of my cuttings. I put them in 100% humidity and moss, and it really didn't take long. It didn't take long. I kind of documented the journey over on TikTok. I think I posted maybe a short on here as well, but I am excited to share this with you guys because it has been a journey. I was super nervous to do it, but I'm so glad that I did. I feel like this is such a more manageable size and they seem really healthy. So like I don't see any signs of spider mite damage or fungal issues. So I feel like we're off to a really good start, and I'm going to be keeping 2 of them and I'm going to be selling 2 of them. So hopefully I'll be able to get a little bit of money back from my initial purchase. And I do have 2 pieces. I got 6 total cuts, and 2 of the pieces haven't done anything. I still have some chunk to work with, but for some reason they're just not producing like these did. I don't know why. I'm not going to give up on it. The top cut is one of them. It had a massive leaf. I decided to keep that leaf, and I probably should have just cut it at the time of propagating because I think it slowed everything down, but it seems to be alive. I'm not really sure what's taking so long for it to produce, but either way, I have 4 and they're all so beautiful. Baby rocks are like, it's like gold, Look how beautiful a baby warrock is. I mean, as they mature, of course, they're beautiful. It's always beautiful, but yeah, I'm just smitten by these, so just thought I would update you. As we go along, we will be losing some of our background because these are the favorites. So I just wanted to let you guys know if the background keeps changing, it's because I keep pulling the plants from it. But this here is a new one, and honestly it probably shouldn't be a favorite because it is pretty new to my collection, but I'm getting its first emergent leaf and I'm pretty stoked about it. This is Anthurium Michelle cross crystallinum. I got it on the 1st of February, so like I said, I haven't had it that long, but it's one that I'm excited about. I'm really excited about it. I really want a Doc Block Michelle, and so this is kind of the closest thing that I have at this point. I will be showing you one in a little bit that was sold to me as a Dock Block Michelle self, and while it's a favorite this month, I don't believe it's a Dock Block or a Michelle. And so, yeah, I'm just really excited to see where this goes. Michelle is an absolutely striking Anthurium, and then of course crystallinum is also a beautiful Anthurium. So yeah, I'm curious to see what happens here. So far I'm kind of just seeing, you know, crystallinum, but I thought that new leaf was so cute and I just wanted to share it with you guys. So yeah. I did get this from EFG, which is a local grower. I talk about them a lot. Unfortunately, they do not sell online, but I did post a reel over on TikTok kind of showing you a little bit of their greenhouse because I really wish that I could take you guys all to EFG. It's such an experience. They have done such an amazing job setting up the greenhouse. It's not just like a greenhouse. It's very much an experience. So yeah, anyways, he's so cute. I have him in this little snail pot, and so far so good. He's acclimated well. I have him already in a little 4-inch pot. I want to say this is 4-inch. Yeah, I think this is a 4-inch pot. And he's already given me his first little leaf, so that's great. Okay guys, next up is my Variegated Anthurium vitarifolium, and she has gotten so big. I looked up at her throughout the month and I thought, wow, look at you. You are really, really taking off. I've shown this plant several times now on the channel, but I absolutely love vitarifolium. It is one of my most favorite plants, and so to have a variegated version is, it's just like, it's really a blessing, honestly. And let me take it out of this large pot, make it a little bit easier to hold. Already, I have upsized her pot, and she is just putting out the most striking variegation. She actually has a new leaf that she's working on right here. And I can't wait until these leaves start to expand and really start draping over the pot. I think that's going to be such an experience. But yeah, I wanted to kind of update you guys, share her with you. She's been a joy to me throughout the month, and the bigger she gets, the more and more I adore her. She did start out as a very small, little tiny seedling. Actually, it wasn't, I want to say it was a pup from like a larger plant, but I did get it from Blue Moon, and like you can see here how tiny, like how little that little leaf is. It's actually finally on its way out. I think it's the last one I have left of the original leaves, but it was such a ditty little thing. And so it's been since June of last year, and in that time she's really sized up. But I don't know, I think it's just amazing to watch these plants grow from such small little tiny seedlings. And I know in the moment, perhaps when you're buying a seedling, it's like you see the large plant and you're like, man, wouldn't that be lovely? Like to just skip ahead to the big part, right? But I think for me, it's the journey of growing these plants into their large form is what I really love the most about the hobby. And just knowing that it's my love and care that has provided it the opportunity to size up like that. So yeah, I'm enamored by her. I'm sure you're going to see her more and more and more as she grows, but this is kind of where she's at. And I really just can't get over the variegation. It's really beautiful. I think I got a really good specimen. She has some amazing specimens at Blue Moon, and I know I go on and on and on about them, but there's a reason. They are just amazing over there, and yeah, that's her. Okay, speaking of crystallinums, I want to share with you one of my little crystallinum seedlings. So this is the largest one out of the batch, but I want to say it was maybe this time last year I experimented with, I don't want to say hybridizing, but breeding my crystallinum, my mother plant. And this was my first time ever pollinating my Anthuriums or just playing around with pollination, and I selfed my crystallinum, my large crystallinum that it's on my very first video. She is one of the plants that I shared, but I still have her to this day. She actually just got moved outside. I shared that with you guys in my first spring update video outside of the pergola and all of that. And over the course of this past year, she gave me some babies, some berries, and I planted them, and here we are. It's like wild to me that this little plantlet is here because I bred, like, it's just, I don't know, you guys, it's crazy to me. I can't believe that it worked, and I can't believe that it was successful. Like, when you first do something for the first time and it's successful, it's just a proud moment, at least for me anyways. This was a really proud moment. And yeah, I think I've given a couple of them away. I want to say that I got 9 total plants out of that first pollination, and this is definitely the largest. I plan on keeping her mostly for sentimental purposes. Honestly, I don't really need to keep it, I have one already, but I'm just kind of curious to see what it grows into, if it really resembles the original mother plant or if it takes on some different characteristics. I think I have 4 of them remaining, and they're not too far off from this one, but this definitely is the largest of the batch. And yeah, she's putting out a new leaf, which is so cute. Definitely starting to get really crystally in her veination. And I mean, look at this prior leaf. It's just so beautiful, the way that it captures light. I love crystallinum so much. I think she looks darling in this little pot. I'm just pretty smitten by them, and it will be sad to see them go if I'm being honest, but I do plan on parting with the remaining seedlings and letting them go to a good home, probably the April plant swap. I have thought about doing a little bit of a purge over on my Facebook. I'm thinking definitely by the plant swap, these will be gone. I've thought about doing a bit of a purge over on my Facebook prior to the swap, because I do have a few things that I would like to purge, but yeah, kind of sad to see them go, but also just really exciting. It was a really, really cool experience, and it definitely made me excited to continue breeding Anthuriums. I am currently working on a few projects right now. I'm hoping that they take. If they do, I'll keep you posted, but yeah, that's her. Next up is a Hoya. So this is Hoya australis Lisa. This is actually one of the oldest Hoyas in my collection, and I know that it doesn't look like much, but I do have it in semi-hydro, and it did really well when I first put it into semi-hydro, but I am noticing that with my Hoyas in semi-hydro, they kind of reach a certain point where they just sort of stagnate. And so I am currently trying to get all of them back into soil. Now this one here, I did propagate recently so that I could start one in soil. And since then, it's really starting to put out some amazing growth. And I wanted to share that with you guys, like how red these leaves get. I don't even think like the camera's doing this justice, the lighting in here, but when the grow lights are on this, it looks so good. I'll try to get some B-roll of it. That way you guys can see what I'm seeing all month long. But yeah, it really didn't take that long for this to start putting out some growth. And I'm hoping that this mother plant will start to produce again, because basically it just stopped growing for me. I'm not sure why. But yeah, after chopping it, it seems to be much happier. I've got a couple different places in here where it is putting out new vines. So yeah, I'm hoping that I can continue chopping from this one and get another one started in soil. Who knows, perhaps one day I will eliminate this one from my collection and just keep the one in soil. But for now, I am really appreciating her. If you don't have this specific Hoya, I feel like this is a pretty common one at this point in the game, but I don't really see people talk about it very often, which is strange because in my opinion, it's really truly one of the most beautiful Hoyas I think out there, just in terms of variegation, the way that it sun stresses and the new growth that it puts out, that beautiful red, how easy it is overall to grow. Like, I've really never had an issue with this Hoya, not in terms of pests or really anything. The only issue I ran into is it just stopped growing. But yeah, I made that one little chop or a couple chops, and since then it's been growing like crazy. And that's kind of how it was when I first brought it home. It grew like crazy. So I don't know, you guys, if you don't have this one, I think it's definitely one to look into. I don't even think that they're pricey, to be honest. I really don't think these are expensive. I wouldn't even potentially consider this rare, to be honest. Maybe it is, but I feel like I see them often, but not people talking about them, which is so wild because, yeah, I think it is so beautiful. Okay, so next we're going to talk about a Syngonium, which is not a genus that I speak of very often, and I don't think I've ever shown you guys this plant, but this is my Syngonium wendlandii, and I wanted to share her with you for a multitude of reasons, but one being she is absolutely beautiful. I love how bushy she is and her just velvety sort of leaves. I think they are so sweet. I love the strike of silver just down the center. I think that is so beautiful. A very easy grower for me, and really one that can thrive on neglect. So I've been thinking about doing another low light plants video, and she would definitely be one that I would throw in. So the story is I keep her in this room that we're in all the time. She just lives in here, and she's been in this room for a long time. This room doesn't really get a ton of lighting. I'm sure you can kind of tell. I have a lot of artificial lighting going on right now to supplement just being able to film in here, but despite that, this plant thrives on. And because she's in this room, I don't water her as regularly as I do the rest of my collection. So I'm sure there's times that this plant has been pretty much bone dry. And despite that, I give it water and it just bounces right back. So it's definitely one that can handle some, we'll say, some disrespect, unfortunately. And it's a shame because I walked in here and I was like, oh my goodness, look at you showing off. You look so beautiful. And honestly, I'm kind of to the point where I think I want to find a spot for her in the main part of the house because she's really just fluffed up. And quite honestly, I love the way she's starting to drape over this white pot. This is just an old like Costa pot from I think a couple years ago. And yeah, I got her from a local seller here in a trade at one of the plant swaps. I really didn't think much of it. I was obviously grateful to get the plant, but it wasn't one that I was on a wish list or anything like that. And I only had a couple Syngoniums prior to this, so I really wasn't even 100% on what this plant needed from me. And I have to say, it's been very, very simple. It's been one that's just kind of happy being in the background. I probably need to potentially treat it for spider mites before I bring it into my mass collection, but it doesn't really appear to have any spider mites, which is quite wild because the leaves are very thin, they're velvety, it's a spider mite's dream, but I really don't see any damage. Like, I don't know what it is about Syngonium, but every single Syngonium that I do own has been so easy, you guys. But yeah, not really a Syngonium I see mentioned a ton, but a really beautiful one nonetheless. So yeah, I just wanted to share her with you. I am really, really digging her these days. So yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to wash her up, spray her down, treat her, and find a little spot for her out in the planty corner or the living room, something like that. Okay, so next up is another Hoya. This is Hoya crassipetiolata super splash. And I looked at her throughout this month and I thought, wow, you are really starting to bush out and fill out. And I took some moments to really appreciate the splashiness of her leaves. I think this is such a beautiful Hoya. It's very similar in characteristics to a couple that are on my wish list that I mentioned in that video. One of them being undulata, I believe. Was it undulata or quadrata? But in regards to the splashiness of the leaves, absolutely beautiful. And the only, I will say the only thing I'm not crazy about on this particular Hoya is how thin the leaves are. I do prefer a juicy, thick Hoya leaf, but you really can't deny how beautiful these leaves are. I would love to see this bloom. I think it would be just to see like some little flowers in there with this beautiful coloration on the leaves, I think would just be absolutely beautiful. And I love the setup that I have it in, just in this kind of pedestal looking planter I found at the thrift store. And this is one that I actually decided to trellis. I don't often trellis my Hoyas. I don't know, I like them living in their free form, similarly to like that Syngonium. I like plants to just be themselves. I think that's why I've kind of steered away from philodendron. It's because they have to be on a pole. It seems to do well, but I don't know. There's something about plants and their free flow, and I love to see how they kind of take over a space, adapt to the lighting in the space that they're in, and sort of creep and crawl to capture the light. I don't know. There's something very beautiful about that to me anyway. And so yeah, I made this little trellis out of some wire that I had around, just because I don't even think I have any trellises around. You guys, that's how little I trellis my Hoyas. So I made this out of some craft supplies that I had, and it seems to really enjoy it. It is giving me this little vine here, and it's kind of starting to form, which is really cool. I have learned with trellising Hoyas that it's better to let the initial vine sort of do its thing, let the leaves form as they wish, and then wrap it, rather than wrap the vine as it's forming. I seem to find that when I wrap the vine prematurely, the leaves just abort. And I don't know if that's just me, if it's something that I'm doing wrong, but yeah, just an observation. Overall, this has been such an easy Hoya for me. I've never had any issues with it. I believe I got this from Blue Moon, if I am remembering correctly. Let me look on the back of the tag. Actually, it doesn't say, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that I got this from Blue Moon. I've had it for a while now, and I don't even know if I've ever shown this to you guys outside of the Hoya video that I did a long time ago, just showing you my entire collection. But I think she's really beautiful. I really do. And I really love the whole setup. If you've been around, you know I love the entire setup. It's not just the plant for me. It's the pot that's chosen. It's the whole vibe, the whole aesthetic. And yeah, I've just really been crushing on her this month. I think she's really beautiful. Really, really beautiful. Okay, so this one may be a little bit challenging to show, because if I put her up on the table, I think it's going to be too tall. But this is my Monstera Burle Marx Flame. I think I got her back in June, also from Blue Moon. And yeah, you can kind of see here how little, I mean, these little tiny leaves. She was pretty small when I first got her. And so yeah, over the course of the past, 6 or 8 months now, she's really grown well for me. You know, just putting out these little spade-like elongated leaves, which I think are really, really cool looking. But the exciting thing is, on Valentine's Day, I was kind of watering a little bit, and I noticed that we have our first fenestration, you guys. I got my first little fenny on her, which is so cool. I am so excited about that. The mature form of this plant is so, so cool. Like, I cannot wait to, in fact, when I saw this first fenestration, I went and I looked up a mature burle marx flame because I don't know, it was just, I felt like, oh my God, we're, one step closer. So yeah, I just have her on this little cocoa pole. This is kind of how I roll when it comes to moss poles. I do have a few plants on proper moss poles, but I never keep the moss in the pole damp. And so for me, that's kind of why I just realized early on that moss poles aren't for me. I love watering my plants. I don't like watering moss poles. So if it's one that requires climbing, I will put it on a cocoa pole or a board. I'll find anything other than one of those bulky moss poles. And honestly, I haven't done a ton of propagating when it comes to my climbing plants. I shouldn't say that. I have propagated several of my climbing plants, like my philodendron, Florida green. I've propagated that a plethora of times. My esqueleto, I've propagated that. But instead of putting it on a pole, I try to find a place in the house where it can just grow organically, either up the wall or like my philodendron splendid. I will be showing her to you guys today. She's just kind of growing in her form, like around the curtain rod, and I love it. I do have her on a pole, but she outgrew it, and so the top half of her is literally just growing as is. And I feel like if you can find a spot in your house where you can just let it grow up against the wall and you don't mind that look, I think it's actually really beautiful, kind of like a living wall sort of thing. I know it can cause a little damage to the walls in terms of the paint and things like that, but you just paint over it, I don't know. For me, that seems to be the way to go, at least for me. And yeah, so that's kind of what I plan to do with this one. It's also why I'm pretty choosy over what climbing plants I bring into the house. If I don't have a space for it, there's really no point in having it, because I just know myself and I know that I'm not going to keep it on a pole. So yeah, I saw that and I could not wait to show you guys. I did post about it over on TikTok because I literally could not wait for this video. It was like, yeah, it was the 14th of February. So I wanted to scream it from the rooftops and tell somebody, if you know, you know. This one for me hasn't been as slow to grow as what some people said. I feel like some people said that these were really, really slow to grow. And honestly, I would say it's pretty typical of Monstera. Like, it grows no different than, maybe a little slower than your Deliciosa or whatever, but I mean, I've only had it for, 8 months, and I got it as a tiny little seedling, like a babe. So I feel like that's not that bad to have our first fenestration. The leaf prior didn't give me any signs that the next one would fenestrate. So I'm really surprised by that. I have been good about keeping the leaf sort of attached to that pole, so it makes it think it's climbing, which I do plan on attaching this to here basically as soon as this fully hardens off. I just don't want to damage it in any way. And yeah, I think it's super cool. I think this is such a cool plant, and I can't wait to watch it grow into its mature form. Okay, you guys, next is my Anthurium villenaorum, and this is her newest leaf she put out over this past month or so. She's also given me her first flower, which is really exciting. She does have a couple leaves on here that are not looking so great, and I do plan on cutting them now that I have a couple leaves that are looking wonderful. Thing is, with this one, I've noticed it really despises touching this terracotta pot. It's the only Anthurium that I have in terracotta. I've just noticed that Anthuriums, they don't seem to love terracotta. I learned that sort of the hard way by planting this one in terracotta. It took it a long time to establish and settle itself. I do plan on repotting this. I don't see a main root or anything coming out of the bottom, but because it doesn't seem so happy in terracotta and I keep getting this situation, I feel like I should. I love terracotta. It's one of my favorites, especially when they start to patina like this. I just think it is so earthy and beautiful. But I'm trying to think, you know, it's not all aesthetics, right? It's got to be what's good for the plant as well. So I do plan on chopping these couple leaves off. You'll probably see that I've done that in the B-roll before I even put it back on the shelf. I will probably wait maybe one more leaf before transplanting this into a different pot. This one seems to, one thing I love about villenaorum is it has such short, stocky, squatty petioles. I love that. It makes it look a little bit more bushy that way. It stays a little bit more compact, but I absolutely love these leaves. I think they are so beautiful. The shape of the leaf, the pattern of the leaf, it kind of gives me like gloriosum vibes of the Anthurium world. It is a beautiful velvety leaf. It's just not as crystally as a lot of my others, so it's different in that regard. It's different in a lot of ways, just how it stays short and compact and things like that. But it is a little bit slower for me. I do find this to be a bit on the slow side. It's not one that's guaranteed to give me a leaf every single, month like my others. But overall, I saw her producing a leaf. I got so excited about it because, again, it's not something that happens a ton. And then when I saw it put out its first flower, I was so excited. I did use this pollen and I pollinated one of my crystalline anthuriums. We'll see if it works out. It may or may not. Both of these plants, I mean, typically I don't utilize the first flower, but because there was such a good amount of pollen on this flower, I was like, yeah, why not? We'll give it a go. But yeah, I wanted to share that with you because, again, I feel like villenaorum is not one that you see shown a lot for some reason or another. Maybe it's people don't particularly care for it. I'm not sure. I think it's absolutely striking. And so, yeah, I'm happy to have her. I'm happy to see that she's doing well and she's finally giving me some beautiful growth. But look at that leaf, you guys. That's her other really good leaf. And then the other three are they're sort of fading out. So yeah, I'm going to get rid of at least two of them and probably keep three. I do have a couple more Hoyas for you, and both of them are my bellas. My bellas are really showing up for me in the last couple months. I feel like I've been showing them a lot on the channel, but it's just because they are really, really doing amazing things for me. This one is my variegated one, and it has, oh my gosh, I struggled with this in the very beginning. I actually almost lost this plant when I brought it home. It seemed to struggle with acclimation, and then I ended up propagating it because, like I said, I thought I was gonna lose it. And the propagations took, and since then I repotted it into this hanging planter, and it is just exploding, you guys, like literally exploding with growth. I can't get over it. I think this is so beautiful. If you've been around, you know I love a trailing plant. I think this reminds me a lot of like my ripsalis and the way that it just sort of hangs so elegantly over the pot, and that is something that I love so much about that plant, is just how elegant and graceful it looks. So I've been using this fertilizer that was recommended by Jake from Plant Gay for Life. He has a channel here on YouTube. I've mentioned him several times because if you're into Anthurium specifically, he's not a Hoya guy, but he's really into Anthurium. And he does a great job with his Anthuriums. He's got some really big, beautiful specimens. So he recommended the orchid bloom fertilizer from Miracle Grow. I've shown it on here a few times. But he recommended that for his Anthuriums, and so I was running low on my liquid fertilizer that I normally use, and I decided to pick it up. It's affordable enough. I think it's like $6. You can find it at Lowe's over by where they keep like the sphagnum moss and the perlite, things like that. It's in like a purple bag. But yeah, so I just started using it, and I have to say, you guys, my plants love it. Just as much as those $30 and $40 liquid fertilizers, they seem to really love this specific fertilizer. So he was right on the money with that, especially my Hoyas. My Hoyas go crazy on this stuff. And I'm actually, on the end of each one of these is a peduncle. I've never had a Hoya bloom, so that's really exciting. I don't know if they'll come to fruition or anything, because a lot of times the peduncle, I will get a peduncle and it will fall off. I don't know why, but the plant seems to always abort it. It's always been with my bellas. I've never had a bloom that I've noticed on any other Hoya except my Mathilde. My Mathilde, I did have a bloom or a peduncle one time, and it did the same thing. It aborted. I don't know why Hoyas do that. If you know, let me know. But yeah, since hanging her in the window, I really rarely ever touch her. I never really bring her down. I never move her unless I'm showing her to you guys. And it's just going crazy. It's got growth everywhere. It's got little baby peduncles everywhere. I can see them, and so I would love to see this bloom. I would love it. But yeah, I wanted to share her with you, mostly because we repotted her together not so long ago, and I said in that video I was extremely nervous to repot, because sometimes when I repot Hoyas, they just freak out. They freak out and they go haywire. But she just took to it. There was no acclimation period. She was just grateful to have a larger pot. I find this particular Hoya to be very thirsty. I know a lot of people say, you know, like it's okay to let your Hoyas dry out. They kind of like it. And if I'm being honest, I tend to be a bit of an overwaterer, and I find that most of my Hoyas like it. Like, I find Hoyas to actually be very thirsty, so I'm not sure why people compare them to succulents, because I don't find them to be like succulents at all. I find them to be closer to my Anthuriums when it comes to watering, and especially the bellas. But yes, you guys, I love her in this planter. I think she looks great. And I just keep her in the window in the planty corner, and yeah, that's it. Like, that's how she rolls, just like this. I try not to mess with her. She does get light from that window, and she also gets some light from the Barina lights from the cabinets, and I just think the more light the better with this one. It seems to never have an issue with that, and I know I've been going on and on about this, so I'm going to stop now. But it's really become one of my most favorite plants in the corner. And I figure while we're on the topic of Hoya Bella, I'll show you my regular green form. She has gotten so long, you guys, like it's kind of hard to show her anymore, but what's exciting is her beautiful bloom. You guys, I'm getting my first Hoya bloom. I am so excited. I cannot wait until these open. I have been watching this like a hawk pretty much every day, checking on these flowers, because I'm like, I would be devastated to finally get my first bloom and then the flowers open and for some reason I miss it. I don't even know how long the blooms last. I just know that you have to be very careful with the peduncle, because if you break it off, I hear that if you just leave the peduncles alone because it will often rebloom from the same spot. So I have been so delicate with this plant. Again, she just pretty much hangs in the corner. She has another one coming. I'm trying to be so careful here. She has another one coming on this branch or vine as well. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just so exciting. It's so exciting, you guys. Like, I have had Hoyas for my entire planty journey, and never, not once, has one bloomed for me. I have a massive pubicalyx Hawaiian outside. If you saw the last pergola tour, I showed her. Never once has that bloomed for me. That huge giant Hoya. It's shocking. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I just know that they seem to really love this fertilizer. Another thing I'll mention about the Bella is it does seem to be a spider mite magnet. I do have to, oh, she's getting kind of heavy. Let me set her down. I do have to regularly spray her with my little concoction because the spider mites seem to love this plant. I don't know why, but I've been trying to spray her down weekly when I water because if I don't, the spider mites munch, munch, munch at these leaves, so much so that they will become transparent. I'm just kind of like looking at them now, checking. So yeah, before I put her up, I'll definitely spray her down again. It's unfortunate that that happens because it is such a beautiful, graceful, delicate Hoya. I feel like Bella is pretty common nowadays. You can find them, you know, Palm Street, pretty much, I would say any local nursery that carries Hoyas is going to have the Bella. And I can't speak highly or higher of it. It's just incredible. I thought about taking this vine here before it gave me the peduncle. I thought about chopping that up and sort of trying to fill out this pot a little bit more. But yeah, you guys, I am smitten kitten. I could not wait to tell you guys about this, especially those of you that have been around for a long time. You know, I've gone on and on about my Hoyas not blooming for me. You guys have given me some amazing tips. I've tried them. I think one of you told me not to move them, that Hoyas really like to just be set in the same spot. And I think one thing I'm noticing is it seems like Hoyas prefer natural light versus artificial light. When it comes to really thriving and putting out growth like crazy, and potentially even blooming, it seems like they prefer the window, they like natural light. And so I'm trying to convert my Hoyas into all of the windows of the house. I don't know how John's gonna feel about that, but even in this room that we're in now, there's that window, and I think I'm going to put a curtain rod and just start hanging. I have a couple that I think would do really well that are in the cabinet that may prefer just being in the window like the rest of them. So that is something that I've noticed. All my Hoyas outside do incredible. It seems to be the ones inside in my cabinets that they do all right, they grow. It's just not at the rate at which they grow in a window. So yeah. All right, guys, we just have a few left, and one of them is my King Anthurium. I'm gonna try to get her all in the frame. Kind of hard. She's getting kind of big these days, but this is her new leaf she's putting out. And I gotta say, as this plant matures, you guys, I am more and more enamored by it. The only downside to a king is the wingspan on these leaves and the way they like to chase the light. I wish so much that they would just lay like this all the time, pretty and flat. And I'm sure it would if I had like a better lighting scenario, but it chases the light towards the window, so most of its leaves have kind of tossed themselves backwards, and I do try to keep them pinned together as much as possible. This one is throwing out some pups at the bottom of the pot. I don't think you're going to be able to really see them, but the next time I repot her, I do plan on separating some of those little babies down there. I have been doing that with my Anthuriums as they've started to mature. A lot of them are throwing out pups. And so rather than propagating, I've been able to separate some of the babies. And so far I have done that, I think 3 or 4 times where I've been able to get some cute little pups. And so yeah, I wanted to share that with you this month because I have just been ogling over this leaf. It is so sexy, these ribs, and just how, oh man, majestic it looks. The bigger this gets, the more beautiful it's going to be. I just know it. I love seeing a King Anthurium in like mature form, like Russo Atlanta. Oh, he's got the most beautiful king Anthurium. I feel like she's probably about due for a repot. It's a matter of time. She gets pretty dry pretty quickly, so that's always an indicator for me. And I do plan on just putting her in this big pot that she's in now, her cashpo, if you will. And yeah, the thing is, the bigger these get, I'm gonna run out of large pots, and that's gonna be a problem. But she's doing really, really good. She holds on to leaves as well, which is something that I find very appealing in an Anthurium. I feel like oftentimes you have to chop back leaves, and this is not one that seems to be like that for me. The first one I had, this is actually my second one, I lost it to, I think, fungal issues. So I was very nervous about this, you know, getting a second one and it happening again. I've had absolutely no issues with this one at all. It's just been a breeze, and the bigger she gets, the more and more I appreciate her. So yeah, look at this petiole though, you guys. Like, look how wonky this petiole is. Crazy. So I am going to have to figure out a way to kind of, I just have some wire holding them now, but eventually we're gonna have to figure something else out, because I don't like how all these leaves are crammed up together, but I know if I let them loose, it's going to take up so much space. I have thought about putting this out in the pergola, and I still might do that. I'm just kind of, it's been a little chilly the past couple days, not crazy, but in the 50s, and so I don't know. I may end up putting this outside and just letting it go wild so I can really see it in its, you know, all its majestic glory. But I don't know. I wanted to share her with you. She's given me a lot of joy this month, so. All right, guys, another one that's becoming really difficult to show you. This is my Doc Block Michelle self. That's what it was sold to me as. I definitely don't think this is a Doc Block Michelle. I definitely see Forgetii, obviously. Her sinus is fused. I don't know what she is, but she's absolutely striking. I do see some signs of spider mite damage, unfortunately, on these new leaves, so I'm definitely gonna have to spray her down. And she does sit right next to those bellas, and I'm wondering if that's where my spider mites on my bellas are coming from, is perhaps this Anthurium. So I am planning on separating that whole corner. It's gotten very crowded over there. This one has grown like crazy, you guys. It is actually two completely separate plants in here, I can see. And I really need to probably separate them, but I recently potted her in this pot, and I should have done it at that point. I don't know why I didn't. It's given me this big, beautiful leaf, which actually, this is the first time I'm seeing this leaf because it was facing the window. So I was only able to see the back side of it. It's the first real size up I've gotten. As you can see, if I turn it around, the other leaves are quite small in comparison to that other leaf. So yeah, I was shocked to see how big this leaf expanded. And then in addition to that leaf is also, trying to be so careful, this one here. I don't even know if I'm in the frame, but it's given me two leaves at the same time. They're both soft. This one's softer than this one. Both have spider mite damage though, so I'm definitely going to have to spray these down. And I definitely need to find, I'm thinking if I move my king outside, I'll be able to have more room for this. So that's kind of my goal. I'm going to spray it down. I just wanted to share it with you because while it's not what I thought it was, it really is a striking Anthurium. It is beautiful. And I kind of like the closed sinus. I mean, if it's not going to be what I was hoping it would be, I don't know. I like that it has some Forgetii characteristics. Let me know if you guys have any ideas what you think this might be. And this is also one that I did recently pollinate with some silver blush pollen. So we'll see, you guys. This is the inflow. I'm trying to be careful with it. Probably not even in the frame. I don't know. But this is the inflow that I pollinated, and so far so good. It's not kicking it back, and it is starting to look a bit bumpy, so hopefully we'll have this little no ID. Yeah, with a silver blush, I think it would make a really pretty hybrid. So yes, I have some work to do on this one. I am considering, even though just recently potting it up not that long ago, pulling it back out and separating it, because it's just crazy in there. There's so much going on. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I feel like by separating it, I could, you know, sell one and yeah, get a little money and not have such a massive pot to deal with. But yeah, and honestly, this large one here is the one that's producing the flowers. This one here isn't producing yet, so it's not like I would be getting rid of flowers. The only risk is potentially messing this up. You know, now that I think of it, I probably will just leave it alone. Probably not going to do a whole lot with it. Yeah, I would like to see this produce some berries, so it's probably best that I don't do anything. You see how we just talk things through on here? I talked myself right out of it. But in the future, I do plan on separating this big girl. She is a big girl. I'll put her up here. Maybe you can get a better shot of her up there. But I do love her. The bigger she gets, the more I love her. I wish she had some Doc Block Michelle characteristics, but I really don't see any, you guys. I really don't, unfortunately. All right, and last but not least is my Thai constellation, which I've never shown on the channel before. You guys probably see it in the background of most of my videos because it lives in the corner behind, or like next to my Millsbow Wide. So it's always in the background of the videos, but I've never actually shown her, and that is because she hasn't done anything for me in months and months and months and months and months. There was a point where it was doing pretty good, and I had it in this really cool terracotta pot. It was like a tower pot with like kind of like an orchid pot with holes on the side. And because I was so scared that it would get root rot, because I kept hearing that they were susceptible to root rot. And it did great in that for a while until it didn't. So it just stopped growing. It started to brown, like some of the leaves started to brown. Let me see if I can pull it down. The wingspan on this, is yours like that, you guys? Like, do you have a massive wingspan on your Tycon? Because her wingspan is out of control. Anyway, I went ahead and repotted her into a pot that honestly isn't that much bigger than the pot she was in, and immediately like that, she gave me a new leaf. So we have a nice little leaf coming. It hasn't fully unfurled, but I am very excited about that. It just started to decline. The whites especially started to go downhill, so like especially on this leaf here, which sadly is the leaf that was just prior to this new one. And when you start seeing new leaves start to brown, there's definitely an issue. That should be happening on older leaves if it's going to happen. So that's all of the leaves. It's not much to look at this point, but I think I am going to move her outside for the summertime. I think she would really love it out there. I remember, you guys, being so excited to get this plant. Actually John gifted this to me, and he paid, I want to say like $120 for this, back when these were still pretty pricey. It's crazy that you can find them now for 30 bucks. But yeah, I love her, you know. I know that the Tycons are kind of, you know, it's not as like hyped as they were because they've gone into tissue culture. They're very easy to find now. But what's cool about them is they vary so greatly. You can get a Tycon that looks very similar to like an albo in terms of variegation. So mine does put out some really nice pops of white in there, creamy like sectoral variegation. It's been slow to grow, and I also feel like it wants to climb versus or I'm sorry, crawl versus climb. Is yours like that too? I don't, it's so strange. Like the wingspan on this is wild. So yeah, I think I'm going to put her outside and let her enjoy the summertime here in Florida, see what happens. I'll put her in the pergola, make space somehow, some way out there, and just enjoy her outside. I think she'll love it. I know my regular Monstera absolutely loves it out there. It grows like insane. So yeah, I'd like to get some big growth on it over the summertime and then perhaps bring it back in for the fall and winter and enjoy it back in the house. But that's her. She's so big it's like hard to show you. But yeah, that's what I got for you guys this month. That is the last of the plant babies for February. I would love to know if you have any questions for me. I said that I would do a Q&A once we hit 1,000 subscribers a while back, and so far I've gotten a few questions, but not enough to warrant an entire video. So I'm putting it out there. If there's anything that you would like to know about me, please feel free to ask down below. I would love to answer some questions, perhaps during a repot. I know for me personally, one of my favorite things about Planty videos or Planty creators is kind of getting to know them outside of their love and passion for plants. I am a multifaceted person. I have a lot of hobbies, so if you're interested or curious, let me know. If you're not, that's okay too. We can just talk plants, that's fine. But it's something that I said I would do, and so I'm putting it out there. If you have any questions for me, let me know down below. And just like that, we are all done. Thank you so much for sticking around and hanging out with me today. I appreciate you so much. Tell me below what your most favorite plant of the month is. I'd be so curious to know. I know for me, it varies so much from month to month. There's some months that I can't stop staring at a certain plant, and then the next month, some of my other plants will start doing amazing things, and I will not be so obsessed with the plant prior. It's just one of those things. I love all of my plants for their own unique beauty, but I do find it interesting to see how the vibe changes from month to month in terms of my love for specific plants. Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, you guys. I will see you very soon in the next one. Bye.